Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Game and Gig podcast, we're talking about Nintendo blocking Samus from Fortnite, we're talking about Meta opening up their Quest OS, and we're talking about supposed leaks about Switch 2 hardware.
Well, Daniel, I am extremely excited about today's episode because we're going to be talking about some things that I personally love quite a bit.
Are you really excited? Because just a few minutes ago, you told me that you didn't want to even be in the same room with me, you weren't.
That has nothing to do with what I'm excited to talk about, you see.
Oh.
Today, we're going to be talking about two things I love, Nintendo and VR. Now, we're not
talking about VR. We're talking about a very specific aspect of a VR company. Okay,
right.
Randy?
That is true.
Do not dare start this episode off by saying we're talking about VR after you scolded me off camera for implying that maybe we would be talking about VR. This is a peek behind the curtain, and you're welcome.
Right. By the way, guys, welcome to the Game and Gig podcast. This is a weekly gaming podcast where we go through and look at all the major gaming news stories that happen, and we recap them for you, catch ourselves up. And today, we're starting things off with a story about Fortnite and Nintendo.
But before we get to the skibbity Fortnites, we do want to remind you that we do offer memberships to the Game and Gig podcast. So if you would like to support the podcast, if you like what you see, if you just think we're silly enough to earn a few dollars, click that join button. You get a bonus episode that we record exactly when we end. We start it immediately after we end the regular episode, and it's a good time.
It is indeed. So check out the join button on the YouTube version of this podcast. But yeah, so the Fortnite Nintendo thing. So we know that there were rumors, I guess it's been quite a few years now.
2020.
Gosh. There were rumors that specifically Samus from Metroid would be coming to Fortnite alongside
Kratos and Master Chief.
Right. So it was going to be like the trifecta. Now, Kratos...
That is the trifecta.
It kind of is in a way. I mean, you got your, essentially, three big mascots. Obviously, I mean, Nintendo's big mascot is Mario. But in terms of, what makes sense in Fortnite, I think that Samus would have been a great choice.
Yeah, I think Samus would have fit. I did think about it, though, and it would have been awful weird to see Samus, carrying a regular gun.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I guess she would just support the gun with her cannon hand.
Yeah, that would be weird.
So it would be kind of weird, but she does fit the vibe of shooting stuff.
Yeah. And there would have been some specific power up that would have been it would
have been a hyper cannon.
Right.
Or maybe a super missile. I think it would have been a big
charge
cannon.
Maybe both. Maybe you could have picked.
Maybe.
But anyways, apparently Fortnite wanted to do this. But from what I understand, Nintendo was all cool about it, but only if Samus would only be in the Nintendo version or the Nintendo Switch version of Fortnite.
And that's just so Nintendo, that's classic Nintendo. But Fortnite said no. We want our game to be consistent, no matter where you're playing it, no matter what screen you're playing it on. And Nintendo said, "We'll go kick rocks."
Yeah, I'm sure it probably wasn't that big of a deal. I'm sure Fortnite didn't care that much. They probably wanted it to happen, and heck, Nintendo probably wanted it to happen.
Yeah, probably.
But it kind of leads us to the conversation of, is Nintendo too restrictive with their IP? Should they be a little more chill and open to having their IP able to be seen or, exposed to other platforms outside of the Nintendo platform?
Right. So we asked the Game and Gig faithful. We said, should Nintendo be less restrictive with their IP? And at a whopping 47%, people said, yeah, you guys are far too conservative. Get with the times, bruh. At 12%, people said, no. Tight control ensures quality. And at 32%, people said, somewhat. A balance would be nice, Nintendo. And at 9%, people said, I don't give a crap.
Yeah, they don't care what Nintendo does.
Nope.
So this is really interesting to me. I mean, we had a lot of people say, most people who voted, or I should say the largest number, was people saying that, yeah, they're too conservative with their IP. And it seems like it feels that way. But at the same time, I get it. Nintendo has always been super conservative with their IP, and it's one of the main reasons that their consoles are doing well right now is because they have that IP behind it, and it's the only place, besides a little bit of dabbling in mobile,
Yeah.
it's the only place that you can go and experience that particular IP.
It's that like walled garden approach, like
Right.
it's the same reason that iPhones are popular in America. Like you can only get certain things on an iPhone and you can only get certain games on Nintendo. So I see from a business perspective why they do it.
Right.
It would have been cool to be Samus in Fortnite, but I don't care that much, honestly.
Right. And I do think Nintendo has a little bit loosened up. We've seen them do things like we got the Zelda IP used in the Crypt of the Necrodancer game, and we got that little crossover. But of course, that game was only available to be played on Nintendo Switch. So it wasn't like that game was everywhere else.
And Nintendo has a history of that because like you go all the way back to Soul Calibur.
Right.
Soul Calibur always had like the big crossover character on each platform specifically. Nintendo let them use Link, So it's not the first time Nintendo has said, yeah, you can use our stuff as long as it's only on our stuff.
Absolutely. It is definitely not the first time. But what I was just going to get at is that, when the Wii U was struggling so much, this conversation came up a lot. This is a very common conversation because the Wii U was struggling. It was like, hey guys, maybe you should consider just giving up on consoles. You make amazing games. You should just put them on whatever the popular console is right now. Don't be a console manufacturer. Just be a software company. Kind of the direction that we're seeing Xbox going these days. And because Xbox hasn't been selling well, that's the same sort of conversation.
It is a similar conversation, but the whole thing with Nintendo is, hey, I ain't trying to turn this into an anti-Xbox rant. I'm just saying,
no.
The whole thing with Nintendo is like, hey guys, you make amazing games. I don't know that I'm hearing that right now with Xbox, but it's similar. I agree that it is similar.
It's similar, but what I was getting at is that if Nintendo had taken that advice and been like, you know what? Yeah, obviously we failed as a console manufacturer. Our games are still great. Let's just put them out. We wouldn't have the Switch. We wouldn't have the success of the Switch.
And that would be a horrible world to live in.
Right. So it's, they're obviously doing something right. We have potentially Nintendo Switch might end up being, the best-selling console of all time. But if not, it's in like the top. It's already in the top 3. It's up there. And the success story of the Switch is like it all comes down to, at least in large portion, because of the IP.
Oh, yeah.
And because they've been so conservative, restrictive with their IP. Now, what would you like to see them do?
I would take a balance, I could see occasionally them letting some things kind of stretch out and use some of their stuff. But being, strict about it and maybe even like having a hand in it, I could see. Like Mario versus Rabbids, that was really good. Of course, that's only on Switch, but it was really good. So, I'm perfectly fine with them taking some more chances like that. And I think I trust them enough to not just let any old team use it, So I know that's a little vague, but I'm okay with them being conservative. I would also be okay with them loosening a little, but I don't think they should go crazy with it.
I feel you. Well, let's go ahead and see what, the Gaming Gig commenters are thinking about this one. And if you guys are new around here, the way we do this is on the main channel, we post the polls, we take the comments from the polls, and we read and react to them here on the podcast. And today we're starting things off with our first comment from Tom Curl, who said, if they let anyone use their characters, then cheap crap will be made. But there's a lot of branches of their tree of intellectual property that they've been neglected. I'd like to see those branches be tended to by other companies that Nintendo teams up with.
I love this metaphor of the tree and the branches. It was very visually striking for me in my overactive imagination. And I agree completely. Like, there are so many Nintendo IP that they're not touching. Yep. Maybe those are some chances for them to be like, hey, we want so-and-so to make a game for this. Give it a shot,
Right.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I would assume if they did that, as they've done with other things, those are going to be only available on Nintendo hardware, but still, it would be cool to see them do it. And off the top of my head, I think about like Kid Icarus. Like that's a game we saw a 3DS game, but other than that, it'd been forever. Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, a little lesser known IP, you know.
Donkey
Fading into obscurity.
Yeah, it seems like we assume that Retro is going to be working on a Donkey Kong game, but they've been tied up now with Metroid Prime 4.
Right.
So, we can assume that Donkey Kong has been put on the back burner. If it's not being done by Retro, then, who's it being done by?
I have no idea, but I would like it to be done by someone.
I would too.
I would really like to see that. I also thought about like F-Zero. They did F-Zero 99, which I think is really good. And I think people liked it. So I would love to see a new F-Zero. That would be super cool. Star Fox. Where's Star Fox?
Yeah.
Star Fox Zero on the Wii U is the last one we got. People didn't really like it.
It's been a decade, or maybe not quite a decade, because I think Star Fox Zero was a little bit, it was like midway through the Wii U's life, wasn't it?
I think so. But people didn't like it.
May have been towards the tail end, actually.
People didn't like it because of the whole like gamepad integration and all that. But like, if you just make us a good Star Fox game, people will play it. I feel very confident that they would.
I just don't know, I like the idea of a new Star Fox game. And this is a little bit of a tangent, but, heck, we get on tangents.
Maybe
the thing about Star Fox is that, the successful Star Fox games have basically all been the same exact game. It feels like they don't have any ideas of how to take Star Fox in a new direction. Or at least when they've tried, they haven't been as successful. So it's like...
What about Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube?
That wasn't even a Star Fox game. Originally it was not developed.
It became one, and people seem to like it. I don't know that it's like a Star Fox 64 level of.
But it's like it almost like that game almost, in a lot of ways, is kind of like treated as the and people liked it, but it's not really a Star Fox game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it seems like Star Fox Zero was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be have enough of 1 foot in old Star Fox, and then 1 foot in something new. And I just don't know, even if you took a game that was entirely in the same vein of the on-rail space shooter that was Star Fox, I don't know that would do that well, because I think that genre of game is a little dated.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they would have to come up with a way to really make me excited about it. If it is brought in and they're like, hey, we have a new Star Fox game. It's an on-rails shooter in space. I might
play it?
I would play it, but I don't know. I couldn't see it being a barn burner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe it wouldn't burn the barn. But a real good looking, updated, current gen for the Switch 2 Star Fox game, I'd play that. I'd be excited about that. I'm not asking them to do anything crazy, but if they want to go more Star Fox Adventure style, and I'm for that too. That's what I'm saying. I would just like to see Star Fox.
Nintendo is not going to do anything unless they feel like they have a genuinely good idea for how to do it in a new way, or how to put a twist on it in a way that they feel good about. They're not just going to pump out another game because they're expected to pump out another game.
No, they're not. Clearly.
No. They really aren't.
They don't.
I think that's why we haven't seen a new Donkey Kong game, I think that's why we haven't seen a new Star Fox game. That's why we didn't get another 3D Mario on the Switch besides, Bowser's Fury. It was they're very conservative, not only with their IP, but they're conservative with their ideas.
They are.
And I think in general it helps them.
Yeah. I think for the most part it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they, are without fault, but I do think you're right. For the most part, it's good. But I would play a Star Fox, is all I'm saying.
I would too.
Star Fox 64 is one of the... that's one of my oldest memories of going over to your house, actually. Just playing Star Fox 64 on, at the time, the first big screen TV I had ever seen.
Yep.
At Randy's house. Big ass CRT TV. Big old honking thing.
Yeah, huge. This thing was huge.
It probably weighed 200 pounds.
It really did. That thing was so heavy. Let's see, we have another comment here that kind of is in the same sort of vein, at least kind of leads us into a slightly different conversation here from KDB. Hit us with that one, Daniel.
Old KD says, Nintendo's very controlling, but I understand that because people worked hard to make these games, but they do just dump their old games in the trash and discontinue them when they don't like it. And that's kind of what I was getting at. You know, yeah. I would like to see some of these old franchises be revitalized. I really would.
Yeah. You know, I think this is more, you know, like in terms of this particular comment, this seems kind of looking at the Fortnite situation, saying that, you know, people worked hard to make these games, so they're not just going to give their IP out to everybody.
Yeah.
That being said, I really don't think that having Samus in Fortnite would degrade the Metroid IP in any way.
I don't either. I definitely don't think that. I don't think anybody thinks. I bet Nintendo doesn't even think that.
Well, they obviously do to some degree, or at least they're just like don't want. No, because the thing is, they said, according to this interview, the dude said that Nintendo was absolutely happy to do it as long as it was only on the Switch. Which, it's like, okay, what would it hurt for someone to be able to probably be exposed to Samus in the Metroid series for the first time? In fact, I'd say probably the bulk of people who are playing Fortnite who would be exposed to this have probably never even heard of Metroid.
I bet you're right on that. And, you know, it wouldn't hurt anything. But I think, and I don't think they're worried about it hurting Metroid or hurting anything. I think they're just trying to continue this ideology of exclusivity. And I think they think that as a whole protects their stuff. I bet they didn't think this particular move would necessarily hurt their stuff. It's just, this is what we do.
This is just how they do it.
Yeah.
That's just the way they do things. Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. Let's go to the next comment here. We have a comment from Soul Intent 95 who said, Nintendo has the right to do whatever they want. It sucks that they are anti-emulation, but they have the right to be that way. Also, I think a lot of people are forgetting why Nintendo is this way. For starters, they single-handedly revived the gaming industry with their strict standards. Look at mobile gaming. It's so bad. That's how all gaming was before Nintendo fixed it. Arguably worse than mobile gaming even. There's a bit of a point here. I mean, like, I don't know if Nintendo's place in reviving gaming is exaggerated in this comment a little bit, but maybe not. I mean, I know that, like, Nintendo came in with the NES after the crash. Yeah. And they basically brought back gaming through the NES, but also, you know, through some of their arcade games, which were very high quality. Would someone else have done it if Nintendo hadn't been there? Maybe. But we live in the timeline where Nintendo was that.
Right. There's probably another timeline where Sega did it, but it ain't this one. Mobile gaming does suffer from like an inundation of bullcrap, though.
Yeah.
Like it's so oversaturated with just crap that I understand where you're coming from. You know, if somebody didn't come along and hold some things to some strict standards and pump out some quality IP, it could have spiraled and gotten worse. So I see where you're coming from.
I think that the reason mobile gaming is so bad is because of two things. One, the types of games that work on mobile just aren't the same as console games. So they're just like trash games just work better on mobile. Like,
yeah,
it just kind of
games you can play with just your thumb.
Right. Like they're not gonna be as high quality.
No.
So I don't mean trash games, but I mean like the types of games that work well on mobile are not always going to be the most highest caliber of gaming experience. So that's one thing. But number two is that consumers on mobile have, you know, they are accustomed to not paying for games. It's like when Nintendo was like, okay, we're going to try this. And they came out with Mario Run and they said, look, here's what we're going to do. $10. That's all you got to pay. And you get the full game and you never have any microtransactions, just a one-time purchase and you own the game forever. Yeah. That didn't work.
And I actually really liked Mario Run.
Well,
that was a good game. That was a good mobile game.
The problem is that particular
that model.
That payment model doesn't work. People don't want to pay $10. They would rather have it free and then spend $200 over the course of 2 years with microtransactions, which makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but you're right. And you know, people want to talk about, you know, Capcom and obviously Tekken and games like that being, you know, riddled with microtransactions. But you talk about mobile gaming, like it is ultra predatory.
Ultra.
I mean, to the nth degree.
Yep.
So I don't want that to invade my gaming. That being said, if you're tired of mobile gaming being shit, you can now download a real high quality emulator on your iPhone. I know you Android people have already been able to do this, but us iPhone plebeians haven't. And you can get you a real good emulator these days. Delta, yeah.
Delta.
It's free. And a little birdie told me it works like a charm.
No, I downloaded it.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. But I haven't played any games on it yet. But I downloaded it.
Oh, well, I played games on it.
I don't know what games to play on it. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what game. One, I don't want to be on my phone very much. Like, I don't want to play. I don't play games on my phone hardly ever anymore.
Yeah, you used to.
I used to, but I just don't. And, like, if I want to play a game, like, I would rather play it on my computer or play it on NSO on my Switch or something like that.
Sure.
I just don't really want to play it on my phone.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to sit around my house and play an old retro game on my iPhone.
Right, and
but if I'm out somewhere, you know, and I've got a few minutes that I need to kill if I got to wait on something.
Right.
I have found that really simple games like Burger Time Deluxe is a great game. The real simple Game Boy game works great on your phone. Pokemon Pinball. It's only 2 buttons. It's perfect on your phone. Pokemon games in general would probably be great. Old RPGs like that would probably be great on your phone. You don't really want to play like Mario, you know, because you don't have the tactile. You know, if you had it like a Backbone controller or something, it'd be excellent. Right. But
using
that defeats the portability of it.
Yeah. I never leave my house. You know, I'm a home dweller. It's like, so I have no reason to play a mobile. You know, it's cool that it's there. I downloaded it and I was like, maybe I could get a Game Boy game. But the thing is, I never am out and about. Like, I never have downtime to kill. If I'm at home and I play a game, I'm just going to play it. You know,
you can play like original Game Boy Tetris. You know, like that works well. Any game that doesn't use a ton of buttons is pretty doable.
All right, Daniel.
That's my advice.
You ready to move on to the next topic? But
yes, I am.
Before we do that, guys, we want to tell you, we stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays. Actually, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays.
And some Fridays.
Sometimes Fridays, Saturdays. The only day that we generally take off is Wednesdays for sure. I'm in the old mindset about Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays.
Well, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is still the concrete days. We just we pretty much also do Mondays now. And if we don't gig late, we do Saturdays and Fridays, and we don't gig late that much anymore. So it's like,
right.
It's just kind of change. You know, times are a changing. But you should come hang out with us because it's super fun. We make fun of Randy. We call him a grandpa. The chat loves it because grandpa, am I right? Come hang out. We stream at 8. I don't know if you told him that.
No, I didn't. 8 p.m. Eastern. Right. Okay.
Unless we get on earlier.
So, let's talk a little bit about some news in the VR world. Meta has now opened up the Meta Horizon operating system, which is basically the OS that they use in the Meta headsets. Now they're allowing third-party manufacturers to create headsets, and they are able to utilize the Meta operating system, which kind of puts them in the
metaverse.
It puts them in the metaverse.
So yeah, we've got, you know, there's companies like Xbox, Lenovo, Asus, you know, people like that are reportedly already getting involved. And you know, I'm not the biggest VR guy in the world, but I think that's really neat.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great that these other companies are going to be able to use this OS that's like refined already, and it's good and it's robust, and maybe like tweak it to fit specifically what they want. I think that's great.
I think it's amazing. You know, the Quest headsets are the most popular VR headsets of all time. You know,
in human history,
they really are, and they are super popular. And so, like the fact that the most popular headsets, the operating system that runs that, now everyone will be able to get involved. I think this is just going to say that the Quest line is going to be what wins out unless someone really comes in with something super compelling.
Right.
I think it's going to be more It's going to beat out PC VR. It's going to surely going to beat out the PlayStation VR.
I was about to ask, do you think it could possibly beat the PlayStation VR?
Oh, it's already.
What about the PlayStation VR 2?
See,
it's got a lot of games.
Yeah, it's got so many games. No, the PlayStation VR 2 has a chance of at least gaining some more points. They've talked about how they are going to make it so that it can be used with PC, which will definitely make it a lot more valuable. So PSVR 2 isn't dead yet, but it's dang close.
It's dying, but it's not dead.
But I think that the Quest all the Quest line is amazing because you don't have to have a PC. They're standalone units.
Yep.
They're really good units.
Yeah, they are.
I'm super excited about this. I think that, and I think the Quest stuff is good. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be excited about this.
Yeah.
But I, think the Quest stuff is amazing.
It's really good.
And I really want the new Quest, the Meta Quest 3. I really want one of those. I think they're super cool. I got a Quest 2. You've got a Quest 2. I'm looking at it right there.
I do have a Quest 2. And we're going to talk about why I don't use it a whole lot. But
right.
But yeah, I do have a Quest 2, and I do think it's really good. I really do. But we asked people, the gaming gig faithful, if you will. We said, what's stopping you from getting into VR gaming? Randy, hit us with those results.
Thank you for saying the sentence correctly. I mistyped it. I just put from getting to VR. But thank you for correcting me on that.
Anytime.
Yeah. So 46% of people said it was too expensive, and that was the bulk of people. 7% of people said that they get motion sick, which I can understand that for sure. 31% say they're just not interested, and then 15% of people said, hey, I am into VR gaming.
No, that didn't answer the question at all.
So what's stopping you? I mean, most people are saying it's too expensive, and it is expensive.
It is expensive, and I think it has a reputation for having, real high barrier of entry being money.
Yes.
And then not having a lot of games that have gotten mainstream enough for people to think that it has those high quality titles. I think that's a pretty common feeling about VR, and I'm wondering if you can tell us why or if that's a misconception.
Well, I think that the price thing is it just comes down to what headset you get. So I think that because the very first big wave of VR headsets were for PC VR and they were new and they were really expensive. And but now we have seen those prices go down, as technology, as they get better at making these things, they have gone down. Specifically the Meta Quest 2 was the one that comes to my mind as being this headset. I think I picked it up for, I want to say $300.
Yeah.
And I think I recently saw that it's selling for $200 now.
Wow. That's great.
So the fact that you can get a still fairly competent headset. Yeah, it is outdated. There is a new model. It is the last model, but still you can get that. You can plug it in and use it for PC VR, and you have access to, I'm pretty sure that there are no games that are just on Quest 3. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure the majority of them at least are able to be played. All the games can still be played on Quest 2. So it is more affordable, but then you have things like the PlayStation VR 2 come out, and it's more expensive than the PS5. It's $550.
Right.
And although in the grand scheme of VR headsets, that's really still on the lower end, that just shows you how expensive they really are still.
Yeah. I mean, we do have this new Apple Vision Pro.
Yes.
Now, it's not really a gaming headset.
No.
But that thing's $1 million.
Yeah, it might as well be.
So
I think it's $3,500.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty much $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm not really any closer right now to dropping $3,500 on a VR headset than I am to dropping $1 million. I'm not any more likely to spend $3,500. So yeah, VR can be really expensive, and Randy's right. We do have some models that are less than $1 million that are more geared towards gaming. But what I was curious about is if you were going to be no, there's amazing games.
Oh, games.
Yeah.
Well, there are some amazing games for VR. And, I think of if I could name one game, I think that this is a genuinely amazing game that I think everyone should play is Half-Life Alyx. That is such an amazing video game, and it being in the VR medium is it's a shame that it's stuck there. I think there are mods for which you can play it without being in VR now, which is pretty cool. So there's that. But then you have other experiences that only make sense in VR. I think of like Beat Saber.
Beat Saber is awesome.
I mean, they're
Super Hot is great in VR.
Oh, fantastic in VR. And Super Hot is such a good game either way, but the VR experience is so different than playing it on console.
It's way better. So the Super Hot VR is way better.
Well, I like both, but I do agree that I really enjoy. I love VR gaming.
It makes you feel like Neo from The Matrix, playing that game in VR.
Yes.
Playing that game as a game, you just think this is fun.
And that's a great game, kind of lending us over to our next conversation here, which is that's a great game for people who get motion sick because you don't move. Beat Saber is also a game that's great for people who get motion sick because you don't move.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Beat Saber is great. There's also a ping pong game that's excellent.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are all kinds. There's I can't remember what game it is. I have it on PlayStation VR. It's like ping pong, but it's like life size, and you're like hitting this thing back and forth. I can't remember what that game is called. That is so cool.
I have a ping pong game on my Quest that's just realistic ping pong. Excellent.
So
good.
Yeah.
And the physics are so good, it's ridiculous. All right.
Yeah, let's talk about getting motion sick though.
Talk about getting motion sick?
Yeah, because you said you were gonna talk about it.
Oh, well, sure.
Yeah. I mean that was 7% of the votes here.
Oh, before we go into a comment, you want me to just talk about getting motion sick?
No, we can do this later. I see you have it in the comments. I see there's a flow to this. Guys.
Yeah, there's a flow. There's a flow to this.
There's a flow.
Yeah, let me cook.
I'm going to let you cook, man.
So we've got a comment here from Morris Dennison, who said, VR is great and all the games that have ported so far are enjoyable. Take a classic like RE4. As a fan who has experienced everything consoles could possibly offer, I found myself wanting more. The birth of the Oculus port of RE4 opened my eyes to the world of VR like no other game before it had. It took a world I had experienced 1,000 times and physically put me into it. I was in the heart of combat, and the entire survival aspect was taken to the 11th level. VR is the future, and once we get a port of all the classics or emulators designed around the concept of converting games assisted by AR, that will be the that will be the future. Not just one crappy new game, but amazing VR ports that make every classic feel brand new. Also, if you have an Oculus 2, the Pro controllers are compatible, so go get an upgrade to your system. You get headaches fast, get custom prescription lenses that have built-in blue light protection, so you don't need to use your glasses. Lot to say there, but I loved the drama that Morris portrayed in that comment.
And I will say, the Resident Evil games are so good in VR. Like,
I bet they are.
But like, this is talking about that original RE4, which it was only available on the Quest headsets.
Pre-remake. This is not the remake.
Not the remake. No, the original Resident Evil 4 got brought to the Quest headsets, and you could play it in VR. I played RE4 for the first time that way.
You're such a maverick.
Yeah, and it was amazing. So good. I was already a big fan of Resident Evil games, and I had played other Resident Evil games in VR, but they're fantastic. It is really cool, and it would be awesome. Imagine playing... Hear me out. Mario 64 in VR. Wouldn't that be so cool?
Like seeing through Mario's eyes?
You are Mario.
I am Mario. You're right.
Think about flipping. Oh my God, you get so motion sick.
I would puke so fast. I would be done. I would be useless. That would be really cool to watch footage of on a TV for me. I couldn't do that.
No, that would be so cool.
I always thought, like playing a game like Ace Combat would be super cool in VR.
Oh, it is great in VR.
And I know it would make me puke.
Oh, yes. That one is the one that makes me feel a little queasy. Because you're going like 400 miles an hour through the skies and you're looking around, you're shooting. It is so cool, though.
I bet it is
super cool.
I like this part at the bottom, though. You get headaches fast, get your prescription lenses. That's one of the things I hate about headsets is having to wear glasses under them. I know they do kind of accommodate for it, like they're meant to.
Yeah, you can definitely do it.
But they're not great.
Well, there's a couple different things. One, you got to pull it further away from your head, which does reduce your field of view. Which, okay, that's a shame.
Which makes you more motion sick.
It does it.
A lower field of view does, yeah.
Ooh.
That's one reason that a lot of people get sick in playing Sea of Thieves, is because that game has a notoriously narrow field of view.
Yeah. Wow. I never really thought about it, but yeah, that makes sense. Gosh, yeah. But the headsets do know that lots of people wear glasses, and they do accommodate for it, and it's okay, but I need to wear glasses. I've never tried to wear glasses using a VR headset.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But getting some prescription lenses would honestly be amazing.
Yes, but probably fairly expensive.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it, but it sounds awesome.
Yikes.
All right, Randy, hit us with this next comment from Celeria Rose.
Right.
Long-time friend of the podcast.
Long time. Mix of motion sick and just not interested. I've never seen anything from it that really excites me. Honestly, I'm perfectly happy and have no trouble getting immersed in a game on a regular screen. The added peripheral just feels largely unnecessary to me.
Mm-hmm. And this comment really spoke to me because I agree with everything. You know, I do get motion sick, and it's not that I'm not interested. I don't necessarily agree with that. But there aren't really that many things that honestly really get me excited when I hear about them. And the added peripheral does seem a little unnecessary. But I realize that is 100% copium because I just don't want to vomit.
Yeah, it's like if you don't want to, if it makes you feel bad, if you're gonna be like, I always thought that just gaming on the TV was fine anyway, which it totally,
Yeah.
And I'm Celeria, I'm not, saying anything.
He's being a jerk.
I'm not saying that you're doing that, but I'm not trying to be a jerk. But I get it. I mean, like the VR, especially if you haven't like played any great games in VR, because I'll be honest, there are some not so amazing games in VR, and you may have tried those and been like, okay, I mean that was cool, but it wasn't as good as a regular video game. It's a different experience that you're looking for. It's like, I think VR, the medium, is almost just as important as the game. Like it plays an equal role, I should say. Like there's something about like being in the game that is a large a part of what makes it so appealing to me.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
thank you.
I thought that was interesting because that's kind of how I feel sometimes about playing handheld.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I agree. It's something about the medium, and there's something different about when you're playing a game in handheld versus on a TV. And it's hard to describe, but yes, 100%. Sometimes just being in the game can take a game that maybe as a console experience might be not great.
Yeah.
And make it a game that's actually fairly enjoyable in VR.
Right. Yeah.
So
I can see that completely.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see how taken aback Randy got when I just said something?
I'm so not used to that, guys. He's like, "Ooh, that's really interesting." I'm like, "Oh my god."
He like literally like he like put his walls up immediately. He was like, "I'm on guard now."
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I thought he was gonna punch me or something.
Randy, when have I ever punched you?
You were opening me up, and you were like, "Now punch."
Falcon punch. All right, we got us another comment here.
From _4762.
Yep.
Yeah, you hit us with this
old
one.
underscore said, wish there was a way to pick two, meaning two choices to the poll. Not interested and too expensive are both my reasons. Have you seen the games they have for VR? Haven't seen a single one yet that warranted the high bar to entry. If I'm paying that kind of money, the games need to knock my socks off. Is kind of what I think underscore was getting at. Yeah. And, I kind of led Randy to already talk about Half-Life Alyx. I kind of ruined my own flow there. But I know Half-Life Alyx is Randy's example of a great VR game.
Yeah, but there's so many others. I mean, I would say even, well, it's really tough to say because it's like I still think that there is, like, as an enthusiast, I do feel like there's still a high, bar of entry. And then the fact that if you're saying like there's only a handful of games that are really great, but there are still there are many just good games, you have to really enjoy the medium. You got to really enjoy being in virtual reality to make it worth it.
Right.
And if you don't really enjoy being in virtual reality, it's not going to be worth it because there just aren't a ton of really killer games just because it hasn't been around long enough, and there's also just not that many people playing it, so there's not really
it's not the mainstream. Like,
right.
Where's the incentive for developers to like really put in the time and resources? Like,
yes,
that's really interesting, Randy.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I get it. So I totally get it. But I love just being in the VR world. So I'm always looking for like, what VR game am I going to be playing next?
Yeah, it gets awkward, honestly. Sometimes you walk in Randy's house, he doesn't know you're there. Like, even though you've been knocking for like 10 minutes, he can't hear you. And he's just on his couch. He's got his headphones in. And he's got his VR headset on. And you can tell he's been there for like a couple days. He's got like grease stains on his shirt. And there's an odor. Yeah. It gets weird.
Turns out VR showers don't actually clean you.
No, but he does love living in VR. So that kind of feeds right into this next comment from Totally Not Ed. Randy, why don't you hit us with that?
Oh, definitely not Ed. Totally not Ed says, answer 5? There's no answer 5, but let's see. The moral implications of what happens when VR gets so good that I never want to go outside into the real world again.
Yeah, that might have been the best segue in the history of the Gaming Gig podcast. Have you guys seen a little movie or read a little book by the name of Ready Player One?
I have not.
You haven't even seen the movie?
Nope.
Oh, the movie's excellent.
Is it? See,
I liked it.
I heard that it was like really heavily referencing like 1980s.
It was?
The time that I was not born yet. I was born in the 90s. 91.
Well,
so I was almost there. I don't have any like connection to the 80s. So I was like, this movie probably isn't for me. So I skipped it.
I think as a VR enthusiast, you should watch it.
Maybe I should. I didn't even know it had a VR component. I literally don't know anything about it.
That's the whole movie, bro. Okay, so the whole movie is there's this like guy who like runs like this evil corporate. Well, I don't know if they're evil, but they're a big corporation.
But then they're evil.
I kind of think they were evil. I don't remember honestly. And they like support what is essentially like a VR world, and everybody basically lives in this VR world. Like the real world is like not where you live anymore. Like you live in VR, and you like go to the real world for like little mundane things, but you live in VR essentially because you can do anything, be anybody, all that, right?
Right.
And they have these crazy advanced like little treadmills they like run around on, so they're like full immersion, right? Like you're really in the world, Anyway, and there's like this big Easter egg hunt for this like grand prize that this guy has like hidden in this VR world, and there's like people working towards it and competing groups, and there's a lot of it touches on a lot of ethical issues, and moral choices about like, how good would that be? Things like that.
Maybe I'll have to watch it.
And it's got some excellent like visuals.
Ready Player One. I honestly did not know anything about it. I heard it was very like nostalgia for the 80s, and I was like, I'm not interested.
That's all you knew, is it just nostalgia for the 80s?
Seriously, that's all I knew.
It's a VR thing, man.
Okay, I got to check it out.
Nostalgia for the 80s is there, but it's VR.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, my suggestion for you, Totally Not Ed, would be to just carry some grass around in your pocket so you don't remember or you don't forget what it feels like, and
you'll be okay.
Just go about your business.
I've never wanted to like live in VR. Like I was, earlier saying, like I just love to be in that world, but I would never want to like, have my headset on all times. Like, I don't know, like you see the Apple Vision Pro people, you see, they have like their YouTube video up and they're just like doing their chores and stuff. Like, I don't know if I would enjoy that or not. I haven't got to experience it, so maybe I would. But I think
it would be cool as hell, but probably not healthy.
Surely not healthy, right?
But cool as hell.
But cool. I mean, who knows?
I watched several videos about the Apple Vision Pro, and one of them, a guy was like wearing it, out in the real world. Mm-hmm. And he was like walking in the parking lot, and he like had a text message window up, and then he like walked away and went inside and ate a meal. And came back out, and he was like, what the hell is that in the sky? And as he got closer, he realized that was his text window, and he had just left it there. And it was still there somehow.
That's wild.
That's wild, ain't it?
It's wild. Man, VR's... Apparently, the Quest 3 has got some really cool stuff, too. So I got to... That's why I want one.
Wouldn't that feel weird, though? Like, wouldn't that make you feel a little weird? Like, realizing your text messages were just, like, floating in the sky for, like, 2 hours? And you're the only one that can see them. But, like, isn't that kind of weird?
They weren't really sitting in the sky, Daniel.
I know
you got to remember this is not real. It's virtual.
It's hard for me to separate. Okay, it's kind of like object permanence. We talked about it the other day. I don't have a good grasp on it.
No, you really don't. But you know what you do have a good grasp on?
What?
is our Discord channel.
Oh, I'm all over it.
What a segue. I want to let you guys know before we go into our last topic. Our Discord channel, we would love for you to be a member of our Discord channel. We have an invite link in the description of this podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube.
It's a server.
What did I say? Channel?
Channel.
Sorry, server. There are channels on there.
There are.
It's a Discord server.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Join up, people. It's fun. A lot of cool people on there for real. It's very inviting, very welcoming. Not everybody on there is like Randy.
No, most of them are not. Although I hear that there is a Randy 2 who's like my evil doppelganger.
You're kidding.
That's what I've heard. I don't know. You have to go. You have to join the Discord channel /server to find out.
Well, you can find that join link in the description of this video.
Absolutely. All right, Daniel.
Finally, something I can sink my teeth into.
The big one. This week, we got new leaks / I don't know how to consider. I suppose they're leaks, but they're not confirmed leaks, which no leaks are.
They seem rather credible.
Right.
Because, we're getting some information about this supposed Switch 2 hardware, and it's trickling down from peripheral manufacturers.
And this is not the first time we've had leaks from peripheral manufacturers in the past.
Right.
Who gain knowledge about the new upcoming hardware because they have to be able to make peripherals for it.
Right. And you want those things to be available as close to launch as possible, So Nintendo's got to provide these people with some specs and some information. Mm-hmm. And apparently they did, but they did it in a really funny way.
Yes.
I don't think I have a comment about it, so we can go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a really funny thing Nintendo did, and it is just so Nintendo.
Well, assuming this is true, but it's so weird that it feels true in that essentially what they did is they brought a box around that had the Switch 2 or whatever you want to call it inside of it, and they let people feel it but not see it.
That is amazing.
So weird.
Like, what if they put like a mousetrap in there?
Why would Nintendo do that?
I mean, why? I don't know what I'm sticking my hand into. It's like noodling. You're noodling for Switch, instead of noodling for fish. By the way, heck, we're gonna get us up a noodling trip soon enough. Don't worry. But I just think that is so damn funny.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
I would love the opportunity to stick my hand in Nintendo's box and feel the Switch too.
I would love it. I would be there. If they called me and said, Randy, do you want to come touch the Switch 2? You can't look at it, but you can just reach in and touch it. I'd be like, heck yes.
Yes.
But through these leaks, we found out a lot of details about what the Switch 2 reportedly has going on here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
And none of the details are like so outlandish that I would be like, no. Or like none of them are like too good to be true. It all just seems just weird and specific enough that I could totally see it being like, yeah, that wouldn't excite me at all, but it could feel true.
Well, yes, they do feel super true. But I will say that the fact that they seem kind of reasonable, and we're going to list them for you, but the fact they seem kind of reasonable actually does make me excited because I've been scared to death Nintendo is going to do something crazy and ruin this thing.
Right.
And they still could.
Yeah.
They still could.
Yeah. From that point of view, agreed. Also excited that we might actually get what we've been asking for.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Like I don't want anything crazy.
Right.
I don't need to be. You don't need to sell me. I don't have to be excited. Right. I'm there, buddy.
Yeah.
Take my money right now. I'll put that crap on a credit card today.
So
I'll go dig up Randy's gold out of his backyard and sell it, or get you. Go on.
You can't sell gold, man.
Not with that attitude. So one of the big things we learned is that the Switch 2 Joy-Con, if they're even called that, are supposedly going to be attaching via magnets.
That's right. Everyone's talking about it. No one knows what they are.
Magnets. They're one of the oldest forms of magic in the known world.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's going to use it.
So this has been... I feel like this is not the first time we've heard this rumor.
No, I don't think it is.
The magnet thing. I think this is really interesting because the question is are they going to attach only with magnets?
Right.
Are they going to still have the rail system, but maybe instead of the buttons that you are like a physical latch that holds them in, maybe they are just held in place via magnets, but they still use a rail?
Yeah, that could be it.
We don't know that.
I think I heard a combination that it was going to be like a combination between magnets and suction.
Suction.
That's what I heard.
I have no thoughts on that. That seems very, very weird to me.
I have thoughts on it, but we're going to have to save that for the bonus episode.
Okay. So I don't know. I kind of think that I never had a problem with the rail system besides the fact that it was, a little loose, a little wobbly wibbly, a little wobbly. Maybe a hybrid method would work. I kind of worry about if it's only magnets. Mm-hmm. If you say you drop the system, they might fly off. Or if you're even holding it and, could they kind of pry off easily. Like how well can magnets hold these on?
Well, if you drop it and they come off, that's probably in your benefit.
Be good. That might be good.
Yeah, that's probably good for you because you could break the rails, on a Switch because you just could.
Oh, totally, yeah. So maybe that's good.
Yeah, and magnets can be mighty strong. The Lenovo Legion Go uses magnets.
To hold its...
Mm-hmm. And you don't hear people, really complaining. In fact, most people say they're really strong. I heard people say they got pinched and it hurt really bad.
Oh, okay.
So they could be strong enough.
Okay, then.
But I kind of agree with you.
I've been convinced.
I would like to see a little bit of both.
Now that you mention it, I remember that the Legion Go had magnets, but I had forgotten all about that. So in my mind, I was like, they're going to be treading new water. They're not, though.
No, they're not.
Well, if it's already been proven that it works, maybe I've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I think it would work.
So, but there are other things that are also very interesting. Specifically, they are pointing that there are going to be paddles, like back buttons, essentially. Like on the Steam Deck, there are 4 of them.
Yeah.
They're saying that these new Joy-Con have them as well, except they just have 1 on each side instead of 2 on each side.
Yeah, and I think that is wonderful because I love back buttons.
Yeah.
They add a lot, I think. I've gotten really used to them, and I really miss them when I don't have them. I really wish my DualSense had them because I miss them. So I would love to see that on the Joy-Con. My only problem is I hope they improve the ergonomics a lot because if they're just as flat as they are now, but they add back buttons, I'm going to have trouble with that.
Yeah, that's going to be a struggle. But at the same time, I hope that this is true. I hope that they really do have these buttons on the back. And I hope that they're just mappable buttons that you can use for whatever you want. I hope that they're not utilized very strong, which I don't see why they would.
I don't think they would either. I really hope they're programmable, but I don't know. It would be like Nintendo to just call them a new thing and make their games use them.
Right.
It really would. Like the Z button on the N64.
Yeah. But I mean, the Z button was essentially the trigger before we had triggers, right? So,
right. Well, these...
Yeah. But I mean, we see basically every one of these handheld PCs that are coming out. They all have buttons on the back, and they're all mappable buttons just to use for whatever you need.
Right.
It's super convenient, and people love them.
Yeah.
And it's accessibility, too. It's not just...
It's accessibility, and it's options.
Options, yes. And I think
that's what you want.
That even just having 1 on each side would go a long way to making it just more fun to play games.
Right.
Because I like to use them.
Yeah. Well, let's keep talking about buttons here. So there's apparently a new function button below the home button. And Randy, put on your tinfoil hat because I know you have a theory about this one.
I do. I
have one too.
So there's apparently going to be a button that does something, but we don't know what. But it's near the home button. And I've already concocted what I think it does.
Okay.
I think this button is going to be, you press the button and it wirelessly docks your Switch to the TV. So if you want to be transferring from handheld to docked without having to dock it, you can press this button and it'll wirelessly dock. Of course, you won't be charging your Switch that way.
Right.
You can still dock it the traditional way and it'll charge while it does it. Or you can press the virtual dock button or whatever, the basically cast button.
The cast button.
And it's just going to cast. And not only that, that might make it so that you can do things like play DS games, 3DS games through the, Nintendo Switch Online, or what I think they're going to change it to Nintendo Online. Maybe Nintendo Switch 2 Online. I don't know.
Oh, they'll have to rename it, won't they?
I guess so. Unless they stick with their Switch branding, it can still be called the Nintendo Switch Online. I don't know.
We might have just decided they're going to stick with the Switch branding.
I don't know.
The Super Nintendo Entertainment Switch Online.
What do you think? Do you have an idea of what you think this button could be used for?
I do. I think it's the 8K button. I think it's the 8K high refresh rate button. So like you're going to hit that button and I think Randy's right. It is going to wirelessly dock to your TV, but it's not going to care like what kind of TV it is, and it's going to automatically display in a beautifully rendered 8K resolution with 240 FPS, and it's going to be solid. But it only happens if you hit that damn button.
It's a turbo button.
I think that's a little bit of an oversimplification, but okay.
It's a turbo button. No, I mean, and obviously that is a joke. Do you have any?
That's not a joke.
Okay. Turbo button it is.
I have no idea. I don't know what this damn button is. I would never fathom to understand what's going through Nintendo's head.
Yeah.
I think the wireless docking sounds cool, but I could also... Now, it depends on if Nintendo has realized, oh, you can do 3DS and things like that.
Of course they've realized that. If little old me thinks about it, of course Nintendo's thought about it.
Because if they haven't, then I can see them not doing that, because then it's just redundancy with the dock.
Right.
And I don't see Nintendo doing that.
Yeah, it is redundancy with the dock if they haven't done that. Because then, it's like, okay, what's the point of wirelessly docking if you're not able to do something cool like maybe maybe they can finally bring those Wii U games that they haven't been able to port over.
Right.
Maybe they can finally, like I said, bring 3DS to Nintendo Switch Online. That would be awesome.
Yes.
But who knows?
Now, we have some more leaks, though. We ain't done.
We ain't done.
They're apparently confirming it's going to be a 1080p 8-inch screen, which puts the size sitting kind of between, they're thinking, between like the Switch and the Steam Deck.
Because the overall OLED size. Switch is 7 inches, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember that, honestly, but
I think it's
that
7.
seems right. And people aren't sure if it's going to be OLED or LCD. It just kind of seems up in the air. I've heard both.
I thought it was like pretty confirmed that like it was not going to be OLED.
I think that's what people are leaning towards, but there was some conflicting information in what I saw this morning. But I would rather see OLED, that's for damn sure, but I kind of don't think we will.
It would be cool. I mean, like, I know OLED's more expensive, which I think is the argument against it being OLED. They're trying to keep prices down. I don't know. I think it's going to be a fairly premium system. I think it's going to be $400.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe OLED does make sense. But I would love to see it, but I don't know. I could see it being $400 with or without OLED. Either way. So, when we talked about the main thing that everyone was gravitating towards was this magnetic connection system for the new Joy-Con.
Yes.
And that led to the question of, well, can I use my old Joy-Con on this new Switch 2 system?
Right. That is the question. And we posed that question to the Game and Gig faithful. Do you think the Switch 2 should be backwards compatible with the current Joy-Con controllers? At 82%, people said yes. And at 18%, people said no. Now, Randy, I have some initial impressions.
Okay.
I think people see the words backwards compatibility and they immediately get excited and they say yes.
I also agree. I mean, like, we've seen this. We've seen, past systems. You can continue to use the controller, the old controller in the new systems. PS4 to PS5, for example. Like, you can use a PlayStation 4 controller on a PS5. It's backwards. Like, the PS5 is backwards compatible in terms of that.
Yeah.
Should we be able to use the Joy-Con controllers? My gut reaction was actually like, no, we need to get rid of those things because they have too many problems.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking in my head, like, if they're backwards compatible, then they're not going to change the new ones enough for it to matter. And then I started thinking about it a little more, and I thought, wait a second. We're missing something here. The Joy-Con don't have to be attached to be able to be used.
Right.
They can be wirelessly used.
They can.
So should they be backwards compatible? Like, if you wanted to use your old Joy-Con with, say, we're assuming that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible in terms of games. So why not be able to use your Joy-Con wirelessly? I think that, that would be cool. So I've kind of changed my opinion over to yes. I think that they should be backwards compatible.
Yeah, I understand that. And, maybe we should go ahead and hit a comment because it kind of feeds into what I want to say here. So,
Okay.
Let's go ahead to our first comment from Watch and Learn.
Yeah, Watch and Learn says, I don't see why they shouldn't be able to wirelessly connect, but I can't see how they would physically fit unless the Switch 2 is just a spec bump, which I would very seriously doubt. I'd hope the Switch 2 has some improvements because the Switch isn't very ergonomic.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you were just saying.
Essentially, yeah.
And like, I'm cool with that. If they want to connect wirelessly, that's fine. Even if they can somehow connect on the system, I guess that's fine. But I do not want these new Joy-Con to not be a legit, serious improvement. Like, and I don't really understand why we would even need to use the old Joy-Con if the new ones are better and can still do what the old ones did. I don't really see the point.
Yeah.
I really, really, really don't like Joy-Cons. I really, 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 really love the Switch. And I really, really, really hate Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
They have too many problems. They're not comfortable. And they don't have a D-pad.
Yeah.
So I want to move on from them completely. I don't care if they're backwards compatible or not. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't know that I care. But at the same time, it's like, I don't see why they shouldn't be able to wirelessly connect and be used. The same way that like...
The Pro Controller, that was pretty much confirmed that it's going to be able to be used. So.
Yeah. So like in the same way, it's like, does it matter if you can use a PlayStation 4 controller on a PS5? No, because the PS5, no one's using a PS4 controller to play their PlayStation 5 because the DualSense is just objectively better in every way.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why would you want to? So why do you need to?
well, at the same time, it's like... But I think it's cool that they were able to do this because, like, Catherine and I played through when I first got the PlayStation 5. It comes with one DualSense controller. Well, I didn't have two DualSense controllers for us to play co-op games, but I had a PlayStation 4 controller.
Right.
So I was able to play games together using one DualSense, one DualShock 4.
And that's cool. You're right. That's cool. That's a good thing. I guess I'm trying to take a hard stance here because they need to fix the Joy-Con.
No, and I agree with you. And I think they will. I really hope they will. I shouldn't say I think they will because it's Nintendo and who knows. That might be like, we sold so many of these damn Switches, let's just keep doing it.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Drift and everything.
Make it a feature,
Yeah.
The more you can get your Joy-Con to drift, the better you are at a certain game.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they take difficulties out of their games. And make it so that as you play the game and your Joy-Con drifts more and more, that's what makes the game harder. Just a thought.
I could totally see them doing that.
Okay, we got another comment here from Commandant. Right?
Commandante? Something Commandante? I don't know, man.
I think it's Commandant.
Commandant J.
Who said, it would limit the design too much, plus they're crap, so hell no.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you're at, right? I mean, like, I think we're thinking like that you're going to be able to attach them. And I kind of am now that we're hearing all these rumors about magnetic, I was thinking like initially, like maybe it would still be rails, but the magnets just hold it tighter. But now through this conversation, I'm thinking like maybe it is just fully magnetic.
Yeah.
And these won't be able to slide on. But if you want to wirelessly connect and use them, sure you can. So I don't think it's going to limit the design. And I think that, heck, they probably would only work with games that were like Switch games. Probably Switch 2 games you probably couldn't use Joy-Con on.
I think the Lenovo Legion Go does, now that I'm thinking about it. It doesn't have rails, but I think it does have something they kind of slot into via magnets.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because I think there is something you have to press to release, now that I'm thinking about it. Because I remember seeing like first impression videos where they were like, I'm so used to the Switch, but these don't slide. They just kind of go and they stay. So I don't know, honestly. But I'm with you. I think the magnets can be good. And I'm glad that you've opened your horizons here. But I pretty much already said everything that I need to say here.
I know you want to move. I know you want to move on. That's like this comment here from Rough Estimates, who says Joy-Cons are my least favorite controllers in gaming history. Ooh, I don't know about worst in gaming history, or like least favorite.
They are my least favorite.
Least favorite.
What's worse?
I mean, like, I'm trying to think like which controller would I rather use Joy-Con to play something, or would I rather use like? I'm trying to think. What's worse? Like I would rather use Joy-Con than use some like crappy Mad Catz controller from the mid 2000s.
I guess, yeah.
Those things I played on those a lot. Those things were shit. Yay!
Yeah, they were. I think I was going for like first party controllers that ship with a thing, ship with a console. I can't think of one that's worse in modern gaming. I mean, is the Atari 2600 paddle joystick thing worse? Probably. But,
yeah. I mean, it's tough.
And the reason that it's tough, I think, is because we're talking about the Switch and we love the Switch.
Right. Yeah.
But the Joy-Cons are bad, and I said that from day one.
Yeah.
They're so small. I felt like I was going to
You got a Pro Controller day one, didn't you? Did you buy a Pro Controller right when you first got your Switch?
Pretty sure I did.
I didn't. I held out for like a year before getting Pro Controller.
And you still enjoyed it, and that's a testament to the games.
Right. Yeah. I played those things. I wore out my Joy-Con.
All I'm saying is if the next Nintendo system ships without a D-pad, I'm going to come in here on a Sunday and I'm going to rant like crazy for a straight hour. You're not going to be able to stop me.
If it doesn't have a D-pad?
If it doesn't have a D-pad, you can just look forward to the Daniel's Pissed episode of the Gaming Gig podcast.
I don't see why it won't have a D-pad. I think that they were really worried about, being able to turn it on its side and still use it. You can still do that with a D-pad, guys. It doesn't have to be separate buttons.
You can still do that with a D-pad, but who even does that? That is so niche. Like, we've all done it a little bit. I understand that.
Yeah.
But who does that regularly?
Right. I think you can suffer through it looking like a D-pad. Or they could even, if they want it to look like separate buttons, just do it what PlayStation's done. It's a D-pad, but they have the things over it, so it still looks like separate buttons, but it's a D-pad.
Yeah.
If they just did that.
Sure.
I don't know if PlayStation's
prefer that, but yeah.
I don't know if they've got that like patented.
They might.
And that's maybe why Nintendo can't do that.
They might
have that particular design patented.
I would rather just have the D-pad that Nintendo's done forever and call it a day. The one on the Switch Lite is excellent. I love that D-pad.
Yeah. And
make one a little bigger, stick it on the Switch.
I don't see why they wouldn't, but who knows?
I would have said the same thing, though, before the Switch 1. I would have said, I don't know why this wouldn't ship with a D-pad if somebody had asked me.
Of course.
But now we've lived it.
Yeah, we've lived it for the past 7-8 years.
And I've tried things, guys. I even bought that, I think it's Hori, that little single Joy-Con, the Zelda one that has a D-pad.
That has a D-pad, yeah.
I bought that thing. And it's good. I mean, it has a D-pad, but it doesn't have like the rumble and stuff.
And so it's light.
It's really light. It kind of throws off your balance, and it won't fit in a grip. So there's just not a perfect solution. Nintendo, please make a D-pad.
Why doesn't it fit in a grip? It has like some little nub.
It has like a little nub on it.
Why the hell did they do that?
I don't know. It was super mean.
That was really weird.
Super mean.
Super mean. Come on, Hori, or
I think it's Hori.
Whoever did that.
We got one more comment here from a bomberclat.
A bomb or clat?
A bomb or clat said.
I don't know what that means.
I wouldn't have to spend double for the same color of Joy-Cons. And I'm just happy that you know what you like.
Hey, I mean, yeah, true. You don't have to buy more Joy-Con again if they're backwards compatible. But I really do think that even if they are backwards compatible, and I actually do think that they should be, because I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't know that it's going to work on the new games. Probably just Switch games. I hope that the system is backwards compatible to old Switch games.
It's supposed to be. I don't think we talked about that, but that is one of the things that was included in these supposed leaks, is that the cartridges are going to kind of like go Game Boy on it. How like you went from Game Boy to Game Boy Color, and there was like a little part of the cartridge that literally made it not fit in a...
Saw the same thing with 3DS.
Yeah, same kind of thing. So like they're saying Switch 1's going to fit in Switch 2, but Switch 2 games won't fit in Switch 1.
Right.
Which is fine.
And they've done this a number of times. Not just Game Boy to Game Boy Color, but also DS to 3DS. 3DS was funny because it just has like a little tab, so it just can't fit down in a DS thing.
Right. Which is fun.
Yeah, it works. I mean, I'll take it. Yeah, I hope that they are. I think these leaks are very interesting because, like we mentioned earlier, if this is true, it means that we really are just getting a Switch 2.
Which is what we want.
They might even call it the Switch 2.
God, what if they do? What if they call it the Super Nintendo Entertainment Switch? What if they go whole hog on it?
I really don't want them to do that.
I think that would be so cool.
I really don't want them to do that. I really want them to call it Switch 2. I know I've gone on, record many times saying I want them to call it Switch 2.
Yeah.
But
if I'm being honest, I want them to call it the Super Nintendo Entertainment Switch.
Okay. Y'all, I know it's not easy hanging out with us this entire podcast,
But it is fun.
and you made it to the end. And you know what? We like to shout you out and say thank you for making it all the way to the end of the podcast and supporting us. We do that through our 3 for Dale Club.
That's right. The 3 for Dale Club is an exclusive organization, and all you have to do to join is watch the whole damn podcast and leave us a comment that says whatever.
I'm just laughing at you, your enthusiasm for the 3 for Dale Club, but continue, sorry.
Whatever you want to say, but make sure you include the phrase 3 for Dale. Mm-hmm. That's 3 for Dale.
Not 3 for Dave.
Dale.
D-A-L-E.
7 Winston cups.
Despite it saying 6 on his hat.
That's because this hat is retro.
That's right. 7.
Thank you, Devin.
7. And just leave us a comment. We look for the secret code phrase. Everyone who puts that in a comment, we shout you out at the end of the next podcast. But today, we're starting things off with the one, the only, the Bobbity.
Yep, bobbity bibbity boo. Said 3 for Dale.
Thank you.
Simple, straight to the point. We love it. And we love you, Bobbity.
All right. A little love going around today.
Next up, we got D18 Omaha, who said, I was watching an Asmongold clip on this, and he said, best in my opinion. There's already a way you can tip. They're talking about tipping devs. This is last week's topic. Buy the merch, the soundtrack on vinyl, an amiibo, or other action figure, etc., etc. Hell, even buy the game for a friend if you want to. The thought of sending a Venmo for 3 for Dale bucks or so as a thanks to Rockstar seems so wild, it doesn't even feel like a real idea.
Yeah. And Rockstar was just an example, but yeah, it does seem like a wild thing to do. And you're right. That's why last week we were like, this is asinine, because there's already things that you can do to tip the devs. Mm-hmm. And these are great examples.
Yeah, and don't cuss in my house.
Sorry, man. Next, we have Kitaclysm, who said, I love the hat throw outro, 3 for Dale, fellas.
I'm telling you what, Kit, that just filled my heart with joy. I love the hat throw as well, and I hope to never mess it up for you.
Oh.
Next, we got Guy in Time, who said, in regards to making sure games don't become lost media, I think it's a fair request to have every game playable in some form after support has ended. I think rather than being for people who have sunk 1,400 hours into a game, it can be more important for those that weren't around to experience it when the game was active. I'd hate to think of a future where a game like Sea of Thieves just becomes you had to be there to experience it. 3 for Dale.
Yeah. I think both, though, honestly. I think it should be both for people who haven't got to experience it yet and for those who want to go back and relive. I think it's equally important for both.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want Sea of Thieves to go away.
What if it does, Daniel? There's a very real possibility. Say, give us.
It probably will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be gone, and you won't be able to play it anymore. Period.
I know, and that's sad. I just don't have a good answer for it.
Because this is not like a game that you can just play through emulation later on and actually experience it.
I know.
It'll just be gone because it's on a server.
Are you just trying to scare me? Like, what are you doing here? Like, I said I know. Like, are you trying to make me cry? Like, I'm scared. Okay, I'm scared to freaking death.
I'm just letting you know.
In 2 days, we get season 12 of Sea of Thieves. How many more of these seasons are we going to get? 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 seasons, and then it's gone forever?
Okay. I didn't mean to scare Daniel so bad, guys. Next, we've got we got Dale himself, Mr. Landon Stallings, who said, as a player who just hit 1,000 hours in PUBG, it will be a sad day for me when the game finally dies out and servers go offline. I hope they will at least add an offline mode, but I doubt it. Sure, I've gotten my money's worth, but the same could be said for the amount of times I've beaten Witcher 3 or Resident Evil 4. At least with those games, I can go back and revisit them. 3 for Dale.
Yeah, you ain't wrong, Landon. That's what we just talked about, and I'm still scared shitless. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for your support.
I've been thinking about this ever since the last episode, and I've been thinking, like, what could they do? And I was like, I almost feel like there has to be, until we get some sort of like law that says like you have to have an offline mode or you have to refund money. Until that happens, I don't know that they're going to do jack shit about it.
A law? I don't want a law to be getting into this. I hate that. I hate the idea of them passing a law that says.
But like, what do we do? What is the? We got to solve this somehow. What you think that it's it's not going to be just the money. It can't be just the money, because here's the thing. It doesn't matter, because this is like they're saying we're not making money anymore. So doing anything extra is just going to lose them more money. So they have an incentive to not do anything.
I don't know.
So
I don't know what the solution is, but I don't want them to have to pass a law saying they have to do a certain thing with a piece of what we often refer to as art. That seems icky and seems like a slippery slope.
I don't know, man.
That seems like some straight up skibbity Fortnite.
Okay, well, we'll just let them go away then.
Well, I don't know what to do, man.
You just had to be there, I guess.
Why are you making me the bad guy here? I didn't do this.
Look, I just don't know until we get to a position where it feels, what really feels gross is them charging you money and then saying that you don't own it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or that you never owned it to begin with.
Rare would never do that to me.
Okay.
Rare, you've pissed me off so many times throughout the course of my time in this game. Don't do that.
Yeah.
We got a final 3 for Dale here from Tom Derry, who said, I'll be open to tipping devs as soon as they're open to providing me with a refund for a disappointing title. 3 for Dale.
Hey, there we go.
I think we got some sentiments like that on last week's episode.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. If they can refund you. That is hilarious. I'm disappointed. I want a refund. Hey, on Valve on Steam, you can play less than 2 hours. If you're disappointed, you can get your money back.
Less than 2 hours, and within less than 2 weeks. But yeah, and I've done it. Like, they'll do it. They'll give you your money back.
They will. They will do it. So
I've done it a couple times.
All right, y'all. Well, that brings us then. So until next time, I'm Randy.
Which makes me Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
3 for Dale.